What's up? What's up? So I'm just gonna go over and do some TA on all these coins just from the top down, kind of to give you guys an idea how I would start from all the way from the top. And there's gonna be some TA on here. I don't want to delete what I've done already, but just kind of ignore that for now. So like here with AVAX specifically, I'm all any coin really. Some coins you won't have this option in crypto. Pete BLZ, I got you. 1 second. Let me do this, then I'll peep that one. I know it's been going fucking retarded though lately, but also what's up, Sparky, Symbolic Hit, and Joe Money, and for everybody in Discord, I'm just gonna do the like I might see it if you tag me, but the late night crypto vibes, like if you actually go to like the voice like the channel we're in, and there's a chat like that you can click on too. So that's what I'll have open because I know sometimes I miss a lot of stuff. Mana, yeah, I got you. So BLZ and Mana are up first after. Actually, why not? Why not? Let's just do those since let's do BLZ. I was gonna do AVAX. I'll do that one later. That was random anyway. So okay, so here with BLZ and any I haven't done TN this in a while. So any coin, especially that I haven't like really looked at in a while, I want to start on the weekly. Some coins you won't have the opportunity to do that just because they don't even have much data. And I'm gonna try to plot out the. What's up, Johnny? I'm gonna try to plot out the what's it called? The swings here on the weekly, so we can kind of tell are we in a bullish or bearish market on the weekly. So really, here was that we have a chart for. I'd say this is swing high, came down, pullback. That's enough for a weekly pullback for me. I mean, that's what 50%. I don't think that anybody can deny that being a pullback. So you come up, you make another high, all right, and then you make a weak low. And this is why, for instance, counter trend trading can work. So for instance, when people came and entered the market here going short, well, they couldn't target the strong low that of the swing structure. We had that strong low and high, right? Let me delete that circle. I don't know why I don't like that. But anyways, we had this strong low and a strong high. And if you're trading counter trend, you could have looked, maybe for this supply right here. When price came up to it, did whatever your trade plan requires to get a trade, and you could target this weak low because that low didn't make a new high. So this is where you started to see BLZ shift bearish, right there. Or no, I'm sorry, I apologize. Not right there. That was the internal structure. Now this down here, this low, until we had a closure below this, you really didn't see BLZ shift bearish on the weekly. So there you got your weekly, daily, or weekly break of structure. So now we have a huge range. And what I do is I just mark then with like these horizontal ray, that tool right there, I'll go down and I'll just mark the weekly high and low, and then mark it up just so I have it. With crypto, to be honest, a lot of times, it's I don't want to think we're going to see this weekly high anytime soon, but it's just get in the habit of doing that. So right here, you had your low, high, and then where was your break of structure? It was all the way down here. So it's going to be the highest point between. And now that's if you're using weekly or candle closures. Obviously, we got more if you are looking at just wicks, but on the weekly, I want to close in order for me to say the whole weekly chart is shifting bearish. So being fair, even though everything's pretty bearish, we just got to break a structure. We expect a pullback after that. How do we expect a pullback? Well, when we can start to see a change of character on the daily with internal structure, which is going to be a break of structure on the daily. I think I said daily twice. I meant weekly at first, so apologies for that. Where could you look for that pullback to? I mean, theoretically, at some point, remember on a weekly, this could take a long time. You'd want to see it come up to premium. Now this doesn't necessarily stay the weekly low. We could just continue to dump. We haven't seen any kind of internal structure shift or anything. So, we have the mentality that we're bearish, but we could see some form of a pullback. So then we can go into the daily chart. I guess I had done TA on this recently. So here you have this daily supply, but whenever I'm looking at the dailies or the high time frames, whenever I'm looking at the daily or the high time frames, I like to refine as much as possible. So you could start with this, but I want to use some fractal supply and demand because that's really where the selling started. And that's one thing I've really been kind of focusing on is getting these zones right because yeah, you can mark this whole candle, but I mean, let's be real, that's a huge range. It's not going to be very precise, and I think everybody, no matter what your strategy is, you should try to be as precise as possible. So where did the selling really happen? Well, it really began on this wick. That's just kind of this is where it gets to be where you stop overthinking stuff and just use kind of like, I don't want to say common sense to sound like a dick, but almost like, okay, you look at this. If you understand candles, like this is where the selling happens, where the selling pressure is. So when we're looking for supply, we're looking for where there may be orders left in the market from where smart money started to push price down. So we can refine it to that wick. Now looking at the daily chart, let's see at the swing structures in the daily chart. Looks like it's gonna be pretty fucked up. It's almost like because of these wicks. That's the thing about crypto. So it's like here was your other swing low. Oops. Thing right there. I mean, really, you didn't get a candle closure on a daily until pretty much the same as the weekly, it looks like. So the swing structure is not the healthiest, and some of you guys are probably like, well, that's not how. Actually, let's see. Let's just go back because I think you might have some other swings here. So we would have, your low, high, low, high. Yeah, actually, it's gonna be different. Apologies. So then you made a new low right here. So at that point, you get a closure. No, really, this was your low because you got that closure there. I'm just gonna use the lowest wick. So then what happened? You got another break of structure. So you shifted bearish once, twice. So that's where you're in a confirmed bear market on the daily. What happened when we saw price come back up to this flip zone? Maybe it was in one of these wicks. No, it looks like it was there. So we saw price come back to that flip zone because this is where we really, and this same principle is what we went over yesterday. And we're gonna that ETH trade. I don't know if anybody took that, but that shit was an absolute snipe. The one that we had talked about. We didn't plot out levels. I think I told you guys to keep an eye on it, but so it's the same concept. We have and that was on the internal 1 minute, but this is on daily swing structure. But the concept is once you get to an area, a point of interest, which here would have been for me just liquidity, your all-time high, you're going to see a pullback. So we weren't in supply and demand because there was nothing up here, but you were above old highs. Retail is induced to buy up in this area, and that's where crypto kind of had that distribution. But we saw price come up, then we saw supply overtake demand. So it happened one time. So then it's like, who knows? It could be a liquidity rate, and we got a closure, so you can be pretty safe that it's not. But in order to really confirm that supply is now in charge and has overtaken demand, we're going to look for price when we see that first break of structure. We're going to see where the demand's at. Here, for me, it's going to be in this wick, maybe in this candle or this wick, but really the important part is just the low needs to get taken, the low of that swing. So when that happens, then we can say that this is a flip zone because we had that daily demand, and then also supply is now overtaken demand very clearly. And at that point, price was bearish. Now at that point, we can move this swing structure here and go. Let's say really there was for a while this was your swing range. I think this was the range up until this recent crash. It doesn't look like you got any candle closures, so looks like. Let's see. On the daily, and this is going to be your range now. So if you want, I don't really mark the daily ones as much, but I'll just do it for just to see how it ends up. So I don't think I have a template. I'm not going to mark the weekly, I guess, because it's the same thing. We have daily and weekly lows the same level. So and now looking at the daily, we can say, okay, well, again, just like the weekly, we got to break a structure. we could expect a pullback. Everything's bearish as hell. Like daily's bearish, weekly's bearish, but you can expect a pullback at some time. And maybe I'm doing the wrong thing by not using wicks for BLZ. And some of these alts, they respond kind of weird to market structure. Like, usually I'm going to look for closures. Some of them, like, this is an awful wide range where there's no closures. So that's why personally I kind of stay away from a lot of these coins just because of that, because they get a little fickle if you're trying to be really specific, or at least with the way I do things. But here, you'd have this daily range. So where do we want to see price pull back up into? Eventually, ideally somewhere in a premium, but that's not required at all. I mean, for instance, in this this range over here, you definitely saw price pull back into a premium, pulled back to optimal trade entry, far in premium. Then it sold off again, so it was just bearish, but it came up mitigated. So if we're looking over here, I guess the clear area, and you look, price, here was a newfound supply, right? In this area right here, price came up into it, respected the supply, introduced new supply. What did price do here? Respected the supply, introduced new supply. Somewhere maybe in this wick even. That zone, this zone up here. So, yeah, I got you on XRP. So, it's not like we're not going to long up to this zone, because I see a lot of people, you might be able to catch longs all the way throughout to that zone, but you're not going to open a long here and say, oh yeah, we're going up here. I'm not, at least, because you're in a bear market. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. So we could look at this as a point of interest. You can plot it out, be mindful of it, but I wouldn't bet the farm on price returning there. Now, how do we determine when this daily pullback's going to, be over and maybe come back up into some supply above? We just look for that daily change of character in the internal structure, which it looks like we've got. So really, this was it right there. And yes, I try to be really technical with it, because this made a new low, so that's your high. Price came up, wicked it, and then you see the same thing. It's just clunky when you're on internal structure in the high time frames. You see price come up, right? Then supply sent it down. So you have this wick would be your new flip zone, and you could find the same concept on the lower time frames. But then here was where you really had that second change of character. And I mean, look, price reacted. What did price do here? It came back down into this demand. It's the same thing. You just gotta learn to look at it from that perspective, that you're just looking at it from in a different depiction when you're looking at different time frames. You're looking at the same thing, but just different views. So, we could say, okay, well, this daily pullback started. The price is still bearish, but you could maybe look to try to long the pullback and take profits aggressively. Anybody who did is eating. But let's go to the 4-hour. So when we're looking at the 4-hour here, we have our pretty clear. It's the same as most crypto. We have this swing high and swing low down here. I'm going to mark that the same as the weekly low. But yeah, this is the range you're trading within. So although, on the weekly and the daily, we have seen breaks of structure, we're anticipating a pullback. For me, personally, to like have that kind of bias, like to look for longs, maybe up to these kind of areas up here, I want the 4-hour to shift its swing structure. Now, you may have a different, I guess, parameter of what you need to happen in order for you to look at things like from a bullish perspective. But me, I need price to be at least bullish in the 4-hour for me to look for longs in that manner where I want to swing them. Otherwise, I'm just playing, intraday pullback, stuff like that. So in the 4-hour, we had the zone before. Here, I'll move it to where it was. This was how we had drawn it on the daily. That was that daily wick. So while you could just use that, you could just use the whole candle. So like if you're a trader like that, the main differences are going to be your risk to reward and also how many trades you take. You're going to take way more trades just using the entire POI. But I think we should refine them always if we're finding them on high time frames. So we can refine it to the wick on the daily. So look how we cut it down. So now on the 4-hour, I'm going to look for this inside bar up to this wick right here. Because again, I don't care if this is a black candle or a gray candle. I don't care. It doesn't matter if it's up or down. It just matters where do I see potential supply forming. Now here, whenever I look at this, I see this inside bar as a range. And we have range. We could have range supply formed in this area right here. So personally, this is enough refinement for me. That's where I'd really look to aim to get confident short positions. Now, you could have played shorts that were through this whole zone. You could have played through this candle right here, right? You got some shorts, but the thing is, if you're using these higher time frame supply zones, you're gonna look for longer targets than you're gonna get by jumping the gun a little early. So me personally, I'd like for supply to come up into this, or price to come up into this supply, and you can even refine it more. You can go in the 15 minutes and say, okay, well, where do I see supply that wasn't satisfied? Because you can look, and once you develop an understanding for what's going on, you can see what's a healthy price structure and what's not. So here was your initial change of character. So you could just say this whole zone is now supply. Sorry, excuse me. And then price came down, found that new demand area right here, somewhere in this candle. You can you could get really specific, but you could use this whole candle, whatever. I wouldn't. I mean, that's just me. But you can see price came back up, pushed into that newly introduced supply, right? Whether it was the wick or this candle, whatever it was, you could literally draw this whole zone up here, like that little internal range right here, that low to that high that got broken. So you could just say that's your new supply zone for that internal change of character. So now we see that newly introduced supply tapped and respected. But what do we not see up here? You don't see that. You don't see that same nice healthy move back up. You just see price dump down, and then crypto is tumbling. So those orders might have got left behind. So if you really want to be super refined, I would just use those last couple candles. That's the way I would do it. Let's just see. I'm gonna delete this, and then we can throw it back on if we want. But you could also look really. I mean, this is what I don't personally do it this much. Until price maybe is up in this area to kind of see as a study. But you could also mark up to here, because you could, there's the argument, oh, there's stuff left in this wick, and you'd be sweeping highs in order to get there, right there. So, I mean, that's why I think whenever you get up into this like level of refinement, you can kind of like almost have like paralysis by analysis, or just no one really knows exactly where the supply is left. I mean, this looks healthy to me. So I'd say, it's going to be these couple candles right here, or maybe even this inside bar if you want to get super crazy with it. Um, let's see. Price hasn't reached that yet. So, and see how in the 4-hour, that's a totally different area than what we had. It's like the same price range, but it was in this candle right here where price really started to push. So, BLZ, I would, really, you're in that supply zone. So, you're in that POI for shorts. But one thing I've studied about crypto recently is it likes going up into those final zones and sweeping out all those little highs in here. That's what Bitcoin did. So at this point, because even though we said the daily and the weekly need to pull back at some point, I see no signs for me that they're going to do that, except that daily internal change of character, which to me is not enough to gain a bullish bias. Because sometimes on the daily, those internal changes of character will be swing structure breaks on the 4-hour, but in this specific instance, it was not. So here you can, at this point, I would wait till it's up in this range and then look for shorts. And I would wait for the 15-minute to shift bearish, maybe internal. It's up to you how aggressive you want to be. And then you could look to position yourself short. I'm actually going to add this to my watch list.
Hey, sorry, bro. I appreciate that.
So,
bro, I'm trying to short waves, G.
I think I took it off on accident. I had them there. I got too many, and I don't know how I used to have so many fucking. Let's Let's see. Waves is on meth, bro. I mean, really, the thing about waves is like you're bullish in the 4 hour now. But it could shift very easily. I wouldn't fill that fair value gap in the 4 hour. Once you filled that fair value gap, you got that internal change of character right there. So then this demand, I mean, the way I'd look at this, so there's your first internal change of character, right? So then after that, you look, okay, we have this demand now in this area. So this is what needs to get broken for me in order for me to be like super bearish, so to speak. Not even really super bearish, but bearish in the M15. So then here we see price come up, came all the way back up to that inside bar. You probably had maybe some opportunities to go short in here. That actually, so yeah, this is a good example. So people shorted off this candle right here. What happened? They got into shorts, or they couldn't even take out the swing low, and they probably got stopped out. That's how you'll see that those early shorts get purged, right? Because you have that liquidity there, price comes up, sweeps the liquidity, and then you see what? You see the same thing. Sorry, excuse me. This internal changes of character. Price comes up into this range. You could draw this whole candle. Like I said, with these internal changes of character, I'll use the range a lot of times. You know, I would rather see price come up into this, but you know, that change of character there, change of character there. Watch this zone. This is a little more aggressive, you know, but you could look at this zone as an area to maybe short from. But if you really want to wait, I would wait for this to get broken through. And even then, though, this is more aggressive than using swing structure, because remember, the 15-minute swing structure is that. So you're technically still bullish all the way in here, but we're using our perspective that we filled this 4 hour value or 4 hour fair value gap. I think it's under a weekly breaker as well. Yeah. So, you know, while the 4 hours bullish, I just don't trust this. I don't trust waves being bullish. I mean, maybe I'm being a little biased there, to be honest, but this just doesn't. I don't know. I feel like that's just straight scam pump. But you know, theoretically, you know, this is your range. If I were to short it, I would not target these bottom areas. You know, I'd target inefficiencies under equilibrium. So probably like for me, like a big target would be these lows right here if I was shorting. And that's really just that 50-minute swing structure. So it's like when this was under here, it looked like way better of a short to me. I still want to short it though. Mana, I think, was the next one. So maybe we should do. It doesn't really have much more structure. Let's use this. So with mana, I mean, this is why sometimes I'm, you know, using the weekly on cryptos a little bit like, I mean, this one's tricky because you could look at this like a break of structure. And then this wick really is kind of a pullback. I know it doesn't look like it, but I mean, you know, from there to the bottom, I mean, it's 60%. But you really never made a new high if you're going for closures. I don't know, this is one of those where it's like just not good price action on the higher time frames because it's so volatile. But I mean, theoretically, you'd be weekly on the bullish on the weekly. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't pay it too much mind, but. And this is why, I don't know, I've gotten a little bit more picky with certain things. Like I don't even like I'll trade certain coins like this when they just like have like a crazy good opportunity, but I just don't like the way they move. It's just so like fundamentally driven, or just it's getting to be better. You can see it's starting to become cleaner, but whenever you don't have much to work with in the higher time frames, it can provide for choppy, fickle price action. Here on the daily though, it's the same. It's just like, fuck, man. You know, you could say like if you're using candle closures, I mean, it's the same thing. You didn't even get, you know, if this was your high, oh, well, you didn't get any wicks above it, so it's like, or I mean, closures above it. So I don't know how I would just go straight to the 4 hour and not really even pay attention to that. But 4 hour on mana actually doesn't look terrible, 'cause that was really where you switched bull for me. But I mean, this really is a pullback too, so you kind of switch back bear really quickly. So it's like you switch bull, you know, price came back down and just broke back through that low very easily. So that this pivot demand that broke that supply seemed to not be very strong. So at this point, you know, then you not only did you do that, then you made another lower low here. So really, for me, your swing structure is like that. So you're bearish on the 4 hour. You know, you could have said this was your pullback already, really, and that you're going for this low because, you know, what did all these lows do? They failed to make a new high. So these are all weak lows. All this down here. Price did come back into um, premium. I think we saw price push back up. Where did it push to? Into supply is what I would look at. But is my shit lagging? I guess not. So, you know, really you came back into that premium in the 4 hour. Definitely saw a shift on the 15-minute up here. I mean, really, it was right here. Shifted. Like I said, with these zones, I mean, it's like it's choppy, but you could really theoretically, you know, because this is internal structure. Or actually, no. I would have said this was really your change of character. So that was where you made a lower low. Pretty easy supply zone that never got tapped into, it looks like. But I wouldn't expect it to because price action in this coin's not really clean. But you're definitely bearish on all time frames is the moral of the story. So at this point, you know, you would look to, if I were trying to trade this, I wouldn't even be looking for any longs. I would just be positioning myself once we came to supply, if I get confirmation to go short to take out these lows. Because until we close a 4 hour candle above here, we're bearish. And it looks like, you know, this is pretty clear. You know, you had this liquidity grab right here, came back above that old high, tapped into supply, immediately moved down. So, you know, you could look at it like, if you're trying to trade counter trend, I guess there were longs here, maybe here as well, because you could look and say the same thing. I mean, it's counter trend. I mean, it's after a pullback's already happened, but you know, there's trades, so you could do the same thing. So price comes back down. You know, where does it really get that first change of character? It's going to be right there. So then price comes into that newly formed demand, breaks through this newly found supply, and looks like this newly introduced demand was not really respected. You got the lows swept, and it's just, again, like if you're trying to trade with you know, lower time frames, it's a lot of these alts, they just don't, like, it just doesn't move well. Like, because, you know, theoretically, if you were trying to really, you know, trade, you'd have waited for double confirmation, even if you're using swing structure, and then price just kind of comes back in and just sweeps the lows and it continues. So it's like you got to use a little bit, I guess, wider stops. I mean, I don't know what you would even really used here. It's kind of point, like, what are you going to use the stop under here? Because you may as well just play the high time frames. But you know, price seems to have changed character again. It's pretty choppy. I mean, I guess if you caught longs right here the first time, you know, if you took profits pretty quick, you had a nice trade. So I can't hate on that. Because you would have looked for, I guess, supply. Was there 15-minute supply? Yeah, right there. So I would have just targeted this, you know, counter trend. And you could have waited until price comes into that zone and then look for that same thing on the 1 minute. I doubt you got it though. Let's see. Inverse internal change of character was right there. Came into the newly introduced demand. Broke through this. It's just, yeah, it's just not great price action. Guess you just draw all this and then where did the long, I mean, either way, the only real good long to take, it's just trading the M15 with these. You can't even really use the lower time frames like that because they don't, price action doesn't work. I don't think there's a lot of algos that are running trading these coins. So I guess the last trade you could have took was, you know, something like this. But it's like, I wouldn't even waste my time with that. It's terrible risk to reward. Overall though, if I was in Mana, I'd be looking to go short at just different areas of supply. So maybe up in here, you probably, if I had to guess, you'll see this wick have some remaining orders, and then this will be the liquidity sweep. That's where you could look to maybe go short, just like what happened over here. It's the same thing. Look at that. Price came down, came up, back, because you thought that the supply had already been filled, just like right here. Like it looks like, oh, the shorts were here. These shorts may have failed. You could look for that 4-hour POI after that liquidity sweep. That would be the most ideal situation if I were to look to trade this, and then just wait for the price to switch character on the M15. I wouldn't even trade the low times with this. Just doesn't really respect it. I think there was another one, XRP, and then somebody wants me to do BNX. I actually haven't looked at that in the last couple of days. So I think I'll do this. So it's really pretty wide swing range for XRP as well on the weekly. Daily is a little cleaner. So you got a high here, new low, new high. Got that closure, so that's your low. Looks like you got another closure on this last drop. So really the daily range for me would be this high up here. And then the low right there. Why did I type it like that? So you can see you're pretty deep in a premium or discount on both your daily and your weekly range. You know, we did just get a break of structure on actually, yeah, no, that's what, yeah, because you didn't get any closures here. So you did get that break of structure, so you could expect a pullback. Same thing as usual. How do we determine that? We can pair it with, you know, old supply zones and a change of character. Let's see if we are in anything, or old demand zones. Apologies. Here, this for me, I don't trust this personally because you barely tapped this weekly demand. You left a gap still. I think you tapped it. Yeah, I would want this cheaper before I even thought of really trusting any kind of big pullback. It would be like minimum in here for me. And really, your best zone, in my opinion, is this black candle over here because you had a sweep zone. It swept up a lot of old liquidity. So anywhere in this zone is where I'd look for you to take XRP. And what I'm doing, whenever you develop this high time frame bias in your narrative, you're able to position yourself without so much thought and confusion whenever you are looking to enter trades, even if they're on the lower time frames. But here on the weekly, or I'm sorry, the daily, you can look around this range. Like I said, whenever we get this close and form that kind of big wick right above these zones, I don't trust it. Like I don't really I don't really care if we get that change of character on the daily, but you can trade the 4-hour range. And looking at the 4-hour range, you've got I'm not going to mark the daily low because it's the same as the H4. So you've got this range we're within right now. Now there is a pretty big inefficiency here. It's also right above this clean high. So I don't know if crypto does somehow start to get bullish a little bit. You could look for XRP to take out a lot of this liquidity because and also from this, I think this looks more like accumulation than most of the coins that I know some people have been looking for a cum, but I think that this, in my opinion, because you've got this clear creek that you hop over or whatever, and then you can't came into that probably that inside bar in the 4-hour. So you could look really for potential longs, but they're counter trend. So with that being said, you've got, see if you got equal highs. You could just kind of try to map out any areas of buy side liquidity. I would not be targeting these because remember, when we're trading against the trend, we don't use these high time frame areas as targets because at this point, this is just this is just a weak low. It's failed to make a new high, so so are all of these. So you're looking for them to get taken. Now we've seen that you could still see these bullish momentum runs happen during this, right? And a lot of times they're just to go up and mitigate. Seems like this was where the supply, it found enough supply to turn around. 15-minute. Let me mark this up on stream the other day, but same stuff as everything else. We just go back up to these inside bars, came back down. You're seeing a lot of inefficiencies left in price, but supply is clearly in control. Over here was your flip, so you could look what supply send you down. I mean, it's arguable. You could say here. You could also say up in here. You could really mark all that. If you mark that, it got tapped into. So I would almost say this would be your main point of interest for XRP for shorts. Once I've dissected the 15-minute down, I'm gonna mark that as my M1 flip zone or M15 flip zone. So, that being said, we came down to this 4-hour demand. So now what do we look for? Because remember, the M15 is obviously bearish. Where is our swing structure in the M15? You've got, that was your old low. So you got to break a structure. So now here's your high here, and here's your low. So this is how you should trade counter trend. Notice we have all these POIs up here. We've marked the 4-hour up, all that great stuff. But that matters nothing to me until at least the lower time frames, the M15 is bullish. So here, yeah, we did tap into this 4-hour demand. But I'm not looking to target these highs because they're strong highs. They did their job. So if anything, I'm going to target areas of supply or internal highs. So for instance, here, say if you were watching and XRP came down, it really just got that internal structure break there. You could wait for price to come here or really down in here. I would be okay with up in this area. Just I'd watch for price to come down in there and continue. But you got to be pretty conservative whenever it comes to taking trends against the high time frame. So because for instance, I see this is a pretty big area of supply. It's also a flip zone because you had this demand in this wick, demand here, and this blasted through all that. This, I guess, what do you call it, a drag, inverted hammer? So that would be pretty big POI for me. If I was looking to long this, also you're going to sweep this high, I would probably just take the high right there. That's the way I would do it. And then wait till price comes down in here. And you really need to use the lower time frames in order to get a risk to reward that's worth it. And you'll find a lot of times it's just not worth it. Like I wouldn't trade this. I'd want a second break of structure, which you might not get that kind of price action. And that wouldn't be bad. It's 4-1 trading the M15, but that's what I would look for in order to go long. But overall with XRP, until we shift the high time frame trend, I'm bearish. I'm targeting weak lows. So I'm way happier to get short up here after this inefficiency is filled. I wouldn't even look to short here, but I'd take profits here. But after we get up, in this area, Then there's that 4-hour supply. So that's where I would look to maybe go short and then target the weak lows, because you're going to get much more satisfying, easy to take trades where you make more money trading with the trend. Now, you can definitely make good money trading against the trend, but you just got to know how to use the low time frames to get that risk reward that makes it worth it. BNX. Fuck, I mean, that alert. Goes on, or not BTC. Goes on perp charts, but I'd mark this up. So here, I thought I had an alert set somewhere. I think I deleted it. Maybe it was this line we're on right now. So we got daily demand here. It's not really the strongest demand though, because it's just like whenever we have these, this structure, you know, that new demand was introduced, came down, it was respected, but you know, was it really? Because we didn't even get a break of structure. So this isn't a strong demand zone for me anymore. You know, we got an internal break of structure. So, you know, the way I look at it though is from high time frame structure. If I delete this, then you know, this low right here and this low right here are both weak lows. Why? Because they didn't do their job. This low, strong low, came up, created a new high. What did these lows do? So far, they've failed to do that. So, you know, this is, you know, looking at the daily, you know, a counter trend trade here, you know, this is a bullish trend on the daily. Let's go to the 4-hour and see what it's looking like. It's the same swing. This is going to be your swing on the 4-hour for me. So, you know, this would be counter trend shorts, because, you know, we have these weak lows that you could try to target, or you could just target these inefficiencies. So here, I'm not satisfied with price just bouncing off that. That's why I refine daily zones. I don't. It happens sometimes for sure, but I'm happy to get left behind because that's not enough for me to execute a trade. It didn't even touch it yet. You're forming more equal lows. You've also got this inefficient price action right here and down there. If anything, I would be looking more. I guess I already mapped this out. Yeah, I'd be looking more down at this area. And, you know, I'd still wait for confirmation there because you're right above those weak lows. Also take it, you know, kind of take into account the general state of crypto. You know, BNX, I have no idea what this coin is. While it has maintained bullish momentum through all of this, I think that if Bitcoin just tanks all the way down to, you know, I don't know, say 25K or something like that, then, you know, you could go ahead and probably make a safe bet that this would do the same. But, you know, no matter what, if you're trading, you got to trade what the chart's telling you. You don't speculate like that as far as execution. So, you know, here I'd wait for price to come down here, wait for confirmation, and look to take this high. Because while this is a weak low, you know, this would also be a weak high. And if we're in a bullish market, I'm more ready to take longs up to those areas than I am to short all the way down here. So I want to go over ETH yesterday. For those of you who are on stream, I know I was like, you know, I'm not going to take it. I ended up taking a small trade, and I didn't risk. I wish I'd have risked my full normal amount, but we went over it yesterday. Price here, I'll make all this. You can't see it. Price came up into that zone. This is when the stream cut off yesterday. Literally, it was at 6 o'clock. I remember. So I told you guys exactly what we needed to happen. I said we need to come down, break lows. This is what we've been going over all day. So what happens? We see that shift in structure, new supply introduction. Price pushes into that supply, and then we have that new demand introduction. So this is where that battle of supply and demand happens to say, you know, is supply really in control? Here, we saw that flip. So, and if you're using this strategy, you got to use it. So, you know, price came up into my zone. I think I shorted. Hold on, I'm still in these two for some position. Yeah, I shorted. I think it was this candle, this inside bar. I just used that little range here because for me, this is another, like here we have this internal leg, pullback. Internal leg, and where does our internal structure start? As soon as the candle breaks its prior candle's lower high. So that was right here. So that range, I used that, almost got stopped out, but you see that the supply was really in this wick, and the selling program, the algorithm started, and that was where you saw this move down. Price came back up, mitigated that supply, and so on. We saw a healthy, nice move. Early shorts got stopped, and then with NFPs today, everything just went insane. I guess the speculation leading up to it. So that being said, we came out and took this low. That was a big target, but for me, I'm out of this majority. The majority of my positions closed, but for me, I go back out to the 4-hour, and we're using that same logic. Okay, we're in a bear market. What am I targeting? Weak lows. It's not. It can be. How's my shit locking up? My internet's been fucking up all day. Now while we still take profits. You don't just short all the way down. Maybe you do. I don't. I took 25% at 4R, and then I took another 50% right here. So I hope. What the fuck is wrong with my fucking internet? There it goes. I hope some of you guys maybe watched this and took it. I know I didn't signal it, so don't hate me, but I did give you guys the sauce to tell you exactly. I literally painted out exactly what needed to happen. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to unmute your mic. That's pretty much everything I wanted to go over. If there's any other coins that I haven't done, you can at me again or whatever, or you can just unmute your mic. Feel free to talk and ask questions. I'd rather people do that than not. Somebody's typing. I was about to start doing TA on random stuff. Kind of like a soul, sure. So I've already marked up most of my stuff on Sol. Looks like you no, you didn't get. You're still within this range. This whole range right here does not look too strong, though. I will say that. Why do I have a dotted line? I don't know what the fuck this was from. Oh, it was an alarm line. It's already triggered, I guess. I don't know. That's what it was. Anyways, so I think there was some news with Sol the other day too, where like their network shut down. This is another problem they have. That's why I don't really turn the market on, or literally just cut your water off basically. So that propelled Sol's price down pretty hard. Maybe it was kind of manipulation. I doubt that would be manipulation at all. But really, this is just bearish as absolute fuck in my opinion until we start to break structure up here. But that being said, you are like super heavy in discount. I mean, you're like at the bottom. So trying to short like right here, I think there's a lot better opportunities because you might get that move to the upside, and you probably will, to satisfy some of this supply. I'm looking. I'd mark this zone, and I know that some people are like, "That's not going to be a good zone." This is the kind of zone those ETH shorts were off of. This was flip zones, because I guarantee, yeah, we hit this demand over here, which also to me, this is a strong area of demand because one, it led to a break and swing structure, and also it swept old lows as a sweep zone. So, it broke that. That was we hit that. That was where that battle between supply and demand started, and you can see supply quickly just destroyed that. So there's going to be a lot of orders here. I would watch there. I wouldn't just short from it. I'd wait till we get up to that area, wait for the 1 minute confirmation, and so on. Just like everything else, just rinse and repeat. So that's really the next zone I'm watching for SOL. I'm personally not really looking to long SOL yet. I just don't see it. I mean, maybe there's some 15-minute demand in here. I don't know. I'm not gonna mess with it. Let's just see. I'm actually curious now. All right, so this one. Yeah, I don't know. There's not even really. Just maybe this wick fractal 15-minute demand. I mean, it's not enough for me to want to put my bread in it. You're not really reacting to it very well, anyways. That being said, you could expect a pullback somewhere up into here. Hopefully, it makes it in here because it'll sweep out these equal highs right there. Sweep out any liquidity here, get up into that zone, and give us some really nice shorts if we can reverse there. I'm actually going to mark this so I remember that liquidity's been swept. The buy side seems to be have begun to be offered here because we started to get that. I mean, even though you're not really in any kind of nice demand zone, you can see it was here. That's where you started to get that change of character. Second change of character here. Came back down to that flip zone. That's using an M15 internal. You could have done the same thing when price came back down into it. SOL usually has some pretty clean price action. I do like trading it for that reason. So you see price came back down into it. Let's see where it actually, yeah, this is the first area tapped. Internal change of character there. Price came into that zone. Got your flip there. Never really got that much of a retracement that you'd like to see, but that's where you saw price kind of come back down into this zone. I wouldn't have even taken longs here, but like I said, you could expect a little bit of a pullback up in here, but I wouldn't be touching SOL personally until we're back above this buy side and also maybe in the supply as well. So that would be the only thing I'd be interested in doing on SOL is taking shorts. Because for me to really start being long bias, I need the majors to be long or the chart to be pretty bullish. If not, when I play relief longs, I'm just playing ETH and Bitcoin. It's way simpler that way in my opinion because once I can see that both Ethereum and Bitcoin are at their, old demand zones, they're starting to change structure, I can feel a little safer and more confident in playing against the trend. And that's just me personally. You may kill it trading against the trend with alts, but everybody's style is different. So.
Yo, Casper,
What's
you
up?
go over Bitcoin yet?
Actually, I haven't. The one I didn't. No corn. Pretty much same. Nothing's really changed since yesterday for me. Is really, I mean, you could say, I guess the people have the accumulation viewpoint on it. I mean, you could say you're kind of returning to origin here, I guess, and you could look for longs back up to these areas. But for me, it's like, I don't know. I mean, this is going to be a 15-minute strong high here. Did you get a closure? No, actually, didn't. I've been using Wix for the 15-minute though. Last couple days, and I've been back testing it, and I think it's a little bit cleaner. So I mean, I get if you're using Wix, you can continue to bearish trend. This would really be your range here. So you could look for, now that we've seen this change of character, we also tapped in that 4-hour demand. So you could expect that pullback, which we've got today, it looks like, in the last couple hours. Where can you expect it to? Look for POIs, back in premium. So for me, I'd look there, maybe watch for double 1-minute confirmation to short. And also another thing whenever you're playing these zones, like for instance, if I'm going to play that first 15-minute zone, me personally, I'd usually rather that happen during session because there's going to be enough volume. If there is, the intention to push price down from there, say if that happens at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. New York time, you're going to see a lot more volatility and reaction to that zone because that's during the kill zone. That's when the most volume of the day is as far as currencies go. Maybe up into London close between 10 and 11 a.m. Eastern, but I would just watch price come up here. The 15-minute to me isn't, If you're using wicks, it's bearish. If you're using closes, it's bullish. So that's really up to you, because this would have been your change of character bullish if you're just using closes and then still haven't cleared this low, because that could just be a liquidity grab. I mean, I see that case too, because if you look, you did come down into this demand candle right there. But even though that, it's not really like, I don't see this as the strongest demand zone here. I think you still have a lot of stuff down here. And then you have equal lows, you have inefficiencies. So it's just, when it comes to longing for me, I'm not really feeling it too much from this zone. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Bitcoin. What would be amazing is if we could get a return back up to one of these POIs right here, because that's where I'd feel way more comfortable short, just like Ethereum, like we were just saying. I think it was XRP or no, Sol, sorry. We had that high right here. We come up, sweep those highs. Then once you're in these POIs, you've not only got supply and demand and market structure on your side, but you also have liquidity as well, and you're filling these inefficiencies right here. So that's where I'm at with Bitcoin. I'm just looking for price to return up to these areas, the higher part of the range, and because I think what's going to happen too is a lot of times on the weekends, the volume's not going to be as much, but you'll see those like impulsive moves sometimes happen on the weekends, because maybe some market makers are just trading algos, and then you have like kind of crypto whales, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like just people that are buying the fuck out of Bitcoin. And I'm not just saying like anybody, but people that have interest to push price back up for whatever reason their interest is. But that's what I would look for, is this weekend probably to get like a little bit of a pump up, hopefully, and then start the week out maybe in these zones. That's just speculation. There's no technical reason for me to think that. I'm kind of just going off of experience. But I would like that. I'd like this high to get swept, more shorts. But there's also, did we sweep these equal lows? Yeah, so you swept these equal lows finally earlier today. So that's good. Cleared that out. You got some liquidity. This might give you the fuel you need to go back up there. Because after that, it goes back to, with everything else, if we're in the 4 hour, what are all these lows down here? What are all these lows down here? They're just all weak lows. Some of them even equal. Pretty clear targets. Even target this one. When you're looking to go short, if you're waiting to come up here, what are you targeting? You're targeting weak lows along the way, inefficiencies, and then your final weak low if you're going for swings. What's up, full port shorts? I said, is Bell still on crack? Let me look.
Bro, did you see SXP?
No.
BLZ?
I saw
Both of them
BLZ.
are up and up. Yeah, they're all up.
Yeah, look at Bell. Bell did the fucking dash.
That's how you know something bad's gonna happen, because we've been having a rotation of the of bullshit tokens. Like, think about it. We had MTL up the other day, like what, 100 and something %.
Yeah. They're just getting their money, their exit liquidity.
Yeah, my gut feeling is market makers are bringing the price up so they can use everybody as exit liquidity, because they know something bad happening, so they need to get out.
Yeah, this is not sustainable. I'm actually gonna add this to my chart for shorts as well at some point.
I bought 10 Amazon shares today.
About 10 Amazon shares?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I should have 200 shares on Monday in my port, so I can start selling premium.
Oh yeah, that's a move with Amazon. You can just do the Theta gang shit, right? With that.
Yup. That's passive income in the stock market during bad times.
Yeah, this looks fucking. It's on the daily. I mean, with Bell, like, you still never shifted bullish here. You just came up and swept that high. Seems like this is an odd one. Maybe there was supply somewhere in this candle that hadn't got to. I don't know. This is a weird one. But you came up and swept that high. I wouldn't really consider this the supply that mattered, because you swept through it. But at this point, we're in the 4 hour. What I would watch here is this right here, where we're at actually. Let's see, because you might This might be because when we're looking at internal structure on the 4-hour, here was your first change of character. There is going to be your level to break. You can look to target. So we're in the 15-minute. This shit is on stilts, bro. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this isn't like terrible shorting territory for Bell. I'll actually watch this. I don't know how much I'll be on my charts. I'm actually gonna hop on Rust after I get off here, but if I see this short start to play out, I'll probably hop in. And what I'd be looking for is that change of character in the 15-minute internal structure.
It should go fill that entire wick.
Yeah, like up in here, this thing right here. I think it could even come all the way up in to this higher zone, but maybe not. Like maybe because if I look over here, maybe it goes and sweeps again. But I'll wait for confirmation. But really, here I see that clear change of character. First one, this is pretty choppy, but you see that second one. Then what happened with the demand or supply that pushed through that demand? It got respected. So you're seeing that new supply introduction over and over again, and you see it respected until you don't, which is right here. And this is how I've been trying to refine zones. So I'd say this whole range to me, if you want to really refine it, right there, and price is almost there. So this is getting up into that. I think there's some potential shorts starting to present themselves, but you have to go and look too on the daily. The only thing I don't like about it is you don't really have that supply on your side yet. I mean, I guess if you mark the whole zone, you do, but for now, it still didn't tap it. Oh, this chart's sus. Like you got really close to that zone, so it's like you swept this high. Let me go to the 4-hour back over here and look at it. Let's see where this inside bar. Yeah, that might be it. It might have been that inside bar. Because you did tag that. Yeah, I mean, I'd be probably okay with shorting it off because we got the 4-hour change of character already. So like when we're looking at the 4-hour, that's signifying that we are about to experience that 4-hour pullback. And I mean, good God, your 4-hour range is this right here. So if you're no matter where you're targeting, even if you're just targeting the weak lows and this inefficient price action, then it's like, I mean, you the risk reward is there if you can catch those kind of shorts like that. So I'll keep an eye on this. I don't know how active I'll be on the charts today, but oh, you play Rust, Papa Smart? I don't know if you can talk or not, but yeah, I'll be on. I just started playing again yesterday for the first time in like 3 or 4 months, so I'm pretty rusty, but I'm down. I have a homie who plays it a bunch.
For a while, but I do.
Yeah, it's fun, bro. I'm down. Just let me know. I'll be on. I don't know how late, probably till like 11 or 12 Eastern.
No, nowhere.
So I might be.
My internet ain't good.
It was cutting out pretty bad.
Play. Yeah.
I'm not sure what you said, but I think you said your internet's not good, and you might. That's what I got from it. I'm gonna set an alarm because I actually want to watch this, and maybe it changes because that's the thing about internal structure. You gotta watch because like at any minute we can now make a new, we can make new internal structure. So it's like, fuck, like right here. Say if the next candle breaks, and now you got a new low. But well, anyways, guys, as always, I appreciate you all. And I'll probably be active over the weekend. I don't know if I'll be trading as much, but until Monday, I won't be streaming. So yeah, if you guys have any questions at all, just at me in chat. And if not, I'll look forward to seeing you guys on Monday. Peace.